So a couple of weeks ago, we discussed postpartum depression in women. But did you know it affects men as well? Well, I kind of did know that, truth be told, but consultant obstetrician and gynecologist at UWI, Dr. Kathy Madden, is here to discuss this. And if she looks familiar, she was here a couple of days ago, so I think she's now the new co-host.
Oh, okay. Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
First up, what is postpartum depression?
All right, postpartum depression is a mood disorder that usually presents within 4 weeks after delivery or sometime around the time of delivery. And unfortunately, we recognize it more in women. But let's face it, women go to the doctor more often, and they're the ones going through the pregnancy and the physical stress of delivery. They're there in the hospital, so it's easier to recognize problems with them. And we tend to forget the men sometimes. But men do go through postpartum depression as well.
Why does it happen?
To be honest, it is not as well researched as it is in women. We know that in women it's because initially there's a hormonal change and then the physical stressors with the baby. And so it is thought that men also go through some hormonal changes as well. And then the stresses that come with a newborn baby also contribute to it. There is a definite link that has been established with having a partner who is going through postpartum depression. And so it's more likely that a man will go through it if their partner is also experiencing the same thing.
But don't, for the most part, and I can't speak to it because I've never had a child, but don't for the most part, the women, the mothers would be happy that you had a child and you're feeling good and the child is healthy and stuff. Why would you be depressed?
All right, so initially after you deliver, there is a big change in your hormone levels. And with that sudden drop in hormone levels, then it triggers some response in the brain. And even though the mother feels like she should be happy, then she still has these symptoms of blues where she feels down. She probably is easily stimulated to cry, and she looks a little despondent. And it's common. I mean, it's not something that they tell you because they feel, just like you said, they feel like they should be happy. But if you really probe it, you recognize that she doesn't look the same, and you ask her questions, you'll recognize that she'll tell you that she feels this way. It is compounded by the fact that, especially in first-time mothers, they may be having problems with breastfeeding. They may be having problems with sleeping and just not knowing what to do with the baby. And it is more so in a mother who lacks social support or family support, or if she had a significant problem during her pregnancy or during delivery that caused her to stay in hospital for a longer time, or had to do more procedures than she had expected to do.
Yeah, so that's what I was wondering. I was wondering if because of the nature of the relationship with father and mother, it was more of a mental issue. I'm seeing her being depressed and seeing her going through all of what she's going through. If that, more so than a hormonal, but you're saying it could possibly be either or.
It's either or, and for men, it's more the environmental stressors and the association than it is for the woman. It is more recognized that for men, it doesn't happen in the immediate phase afterwards, because for women, you tend to see it immediately or within 2 weeks. But research is now suggesting that we should probably extend that period for men to about 4 weeks because it takes longer for that onset.
For them to understand, so them not get the full attention anymore.
Exactly, it is no longer about them, and they also have to give more to mom, who now probably can't do as much. They have the kids at home, and then the financial responsibility as well. It's also been recognized that men who suffer from other mental issues, I noticed you had Mrs. Clacken on earlier, and Hailey was a friend of mine. If they have another mental problem, they are at increased risk for postpartum depression.
Wow.
And there's also been a link to cigarette smoking.
Yeah. Is depression, or is postpartum depression different than just a regular guy who's depressed?
All right, so the criteria for saying you have a depressive disorder is the same for both. It's just a time period. So it must be related to pregnancy or immediately after delivery. And the onset of symptoms has to be within 2 weeks of, not 2 weeks, 4 weeks of having delivered for you to call it postpartum depression. Depression otherwise is still the same, it's still the same set of symptoms. It's just that it's not related to pregnancy.
Okay, so I would behave as any normal
same.
depressed person
Right,
would behave.
right.
It's just something different brought
Around
it
the
on.
time, right. Now, you know, we tend to use depression loosely, but there are different criteria that you have to satisfy. And I think it's about nine criteria that exist, and you should have at least 5 of them present within a 2-week period to say that
You remember them?
well, I know a couple of them.
Yeah.
So one, change in your sleeping pattern. So either you're always sleeping or you have problems falling asleep when that's not usual. Irritability and inability to concentrate on regular stuff that you usually
Normally would be
do.
able to.
Right. A general feeling of sadness and a low energy feeling. Problems with eating and poor weight gain.
Yeah.
And this has to be irrespective of any medical condition or if you are on any substance abuse. It has to be irrespective and independent of that. So those are some of them.
Are we becoming more and more aware of it, Kathy? Because sometimes I say to people, I see women, particularly women maybe in inner city, who may be going through postpartum depression, but we just look at them and say, what this mother?
Yeah.
Because she's not doing what we think mothers should do with a child.
Right.
And I'm hearing now and I'm thinking maybe it's the same situation with men
Right.
who disconnect from the child and we say, what this father? And maybe, I'm not making excuses for them, but maybe that's what they're going through as well.
It could very well be. But as I said before, men tend to not express their feelings very well and they don't seek attention. And our society is just not one that recognizes mental health very well. And so we tend to shun them or tend not to interact with them if we see them behaving in any odd way. But we need to be more aware. And with social media, I think it has become something that's more topical. You see Kanye West on ranting, and people are now recognizing that there may be a mental health issue there.
From long time.
All right, so I'm suffering from postpartum depression. Then what? I just suffer for a couple of weeks and I come back out a bit, or I need medical help, or what?
You need help. So you are supposed to be referred to a psychiatrist or at least a psychologist, because counseling is one method of dealing with it. Establishing good family support and support groups that exist. I don't think we have as much support groups island-wide as we should for various mental health issues. So that's something to look into. And we generally start with that, and if necessary, then we move on to medication.
But I'm coming out of it, though. It's not that if I...
It usually is something, if it's postpartum depression itself, it should resolve.
Right, so I'm not being depressed for the rest of my
You
life.
should not be depressed for the rest of your life. But as said before, it is linked to other mental illnesses, which generally stay with you.
I'm happy for this discussion because sometimes people really undergo things, you know, and they feel like they shouldn't. And so they don't say, they don't face it, and we judge them for it.
Right.
So it's important that we get to a point of understanding that this can happen to anyone.
Right.
Nice, Kathy. Nice.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
And we'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow again for some other reason.
All right.
All right. Consultant obstetrician and gynecologist at UA, Dr. Kathy Madden. 10 minutes to your health. We'll do it again next Thursday.